Giga Texas just had its first birthday, and I wanted to celebrate it by talking about how quickly Tesla was able to move on this particular factory and why we shouldn't have to wait much longer for it to officially become active. I remember all the speculation and hype leading up to the Q2 earnings call last year, and there was so much talk about whether or not the next Gigafactory for the Cybertruck would end up in Tulsa or in Texas, and Elon had been toying around with Austin for a long time, so it was high on our likelihood list. And once they finally announced it, the construction workers did not take long. In fact, they were already landscaping and prepping the dirt and soil and everything for the facility to go up as quickly as possible. And this is a gigantic factory that I believe is going to produce some of the most advanced electric vehicles, if not the most advanced electric vehicles that are going to change the world. And it's going to start off with a vehicle that doesn't seem too different from what we've already seen and become familiar with in the Model Y. But because of all the holdups in Giga Berlin, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this will be the first 4680 next generation Model Y production plant that is going to look seemingly identical to Model Ys coming out of Fremont and Shanghai, but under the hood there's going to be a whole lot of new technology that's going to allow for longer range, more affordable prices, and more scalable production techniques, knowing that Texas is going to be using the structural battery pack we heard about on Battery Day. It's going to be using a single piece front casting and a single piece rear casting, which should allow for Tesla to save a ton of weight and save on hundreds of parts, which is honestly what the Model Y is in desperate need of right now, because demand is through the roof and Tesla keeps raising prices on the Model Y from the Fremont factory. And I don't think it's necessarily just because of supply chain shortages. I do think that there's simply so many people ordering this car and so many people want it that Tesla is unable to keep up with these orders, so all they can really do is raise the prices to try to discourage people from ordering more. And I think that Giga Texas, using these new manufacturing techniques, it's not necessarily just about reducing the weight and improving the range or even reducing the cost. It more so comes down to scalability and being able to produce thousands of these things every single week, and the next generation techniques used at Giga Texas are going to allow for that. But that's just the beginning. This factory is also going to be producing, in my opinion, the coolest Tesla they've ever unveiled, which is the Cybertruck. And the demand for this vehicle is on a whole nother level. There's over 1 million reservations, and even if over 50% of those get canceled, Tesla will not be able to keep up with demand for that vehicle for several years. And it will probably be using 4680s, the structural battery pack, and it'll be the most durable pickup truck of all time. Also, the first consumer vehicle that will be mass-produced with Tesla armored glass. It looks like it's straight out of the future. It does not blend in with other pickup trucks of this time, and this is the home base. This is where they're all going to be coming from, and it's going to have game-changing range. It's going to have game-changing functionality, and I do genuinely think that more legacy automakers are going to start trying to figure out how they need to replicate the Cybertruck effect, because so many people are going to be opting for this when they realize the utility and the practicality of the design can't really be achieved with a traditional pickup truck look. And with the price being so good, and now knowing there's going to be rear wheel steering and auto presenting doors, this is just going to be the ultimate Swiss Army knife of Tesla vehicles, and I can't wait to see them on the road. And knowing that within a year Tesla has been able to make such astounding progress with Giga Texas, it makes me really excited for how quickly Tesla is able to act on these things. And just this morning, some people were catching Tesla taking in a Model Y frame into the factory to apparently test the paint shop, so that's another next generation technique that's going to be used with the Model Ys coming out of here. There's been complaints about quality control and paint from the Fremont factory for years now, and from the beginning I never really believed it to be a problem with Tesla themselves, but more so the Fremont factory not being optimized for mass producing electric vehicles, because we have not heard these same quality control problems from Giga Shanghai, which has now ramped the Model 3 and the Model Y, and it's selling amazingly well over there, and the quality control is fantastic. So I think when Tesla is able to design a factory like their microchips and the paint shop, the casting press, and basically when Tesla has more control over every stage of the process and the layout of the entire factory, that's when you start to get less panel gaps, better build quality, and less shakiness and less places for metal to break or more areas where you have to do specific welding. So I do think that while on the outside the made in Texas Model Y will not seem like a big deal, on the inside it's going to allow for Tesla to finally catch up with demand and also lower prices hopefully and allow for range improvements as well. Most people seem to think that Tesla won't increase the range to be over 400 miles, but my only reason as to doubting that is because at battery day, pretty much everything they described with the structural battery pack and the casting presses directly correlated to the Model Y, and throughout that whole presentation they kept talking about how this allows for a 14% range increase or 10% range increase. And through all those range increases, I feel like there's still a possibility that the Made in Texas Model Y will just have extremely great range that people are not anticipating, but the polls think otherwise, so I'm very curious to see how this works out. But every single day I've loved keeping up with the videos that multiple channels have documented for every stage of construction Giga Texas has gone through. I want to once again give a huge shout out to Jeff Roberts for his diligence of flying his drone over the facility every single day and paying attention to the little details going on, as well as Randy from Terrafactory Texas. I've been enjoying his videos covering it as well, also doing a great job finding little details that are easy to miss. And I do have a lot of confidence that Giga Texas will be operational later this year, probably at the start of the fourth quarter, and I'm very curious to hear how you guys think the rollout is going to go. There was some news and rumors floating around that Tesla was actually going to start with the Cybertruck at Giga Texas, but simply because the giant 8,000-ton Giga presses have not been installed yet, and the Cybertruck sections of the factory still have some steel walls to go up, that makes me think that Model Y is still going to go up first. And keep in mind that similar to Giga Shanghai, you don't have to have the entire facility done to start actual production. There can be segments of this factory, which I do think is being optimized for both Model Y and Cybertruck production. So you can have some parts of the factory still under construction and still be able to start mass producing Model Ys, which I think we may be seeing in the next couple months, depending on how cell production can go. And Tesla seems to be going on a hiring spree for Giga Texas, which is a good sign that they're ready for people to start showing up for work. My personal prediction is that since Elon has said Giga Texas is going to start with low volume production and then in 2022 start making its way up to higher volume, I think Tesla's going to start with the performance Model Y only, and they're only going to make performance models there just because the price is much higher and the profit margins are fairly thick, so Tesla will know the demand for that model is not going to be too high. But I do think the range will be drastically improved, maybe up to 350 or 380 on that model, because it'll be rocking 4680s, and as time goes on and Giga Texas is ready to ramp up to more volume production, that's when they'll start making the dual motor long range option as well. And hopefully Giga Texas helping out with performance Model Ys for the first couple quarters. That will allow the Fremont factory to bring back the standard range Model Y and catch up with demand in that department. And still, one of my biggest questions for Tesla that I would love for them to address during the earnings call is, how is Tesla going to be producing these 4680 next generation Model Ys at Texas alongside the 2170 Model Ys in Fremont? You know, how do they price those differently? How are people going to know which Model Y they're ordering? If there is going to be a difference, is going to be a long range plus model that's way more expensive than just the long range model? How do you guys think they're going to do it, and how close do you think Cybertruck deliveries are? I hope Tesla can continue to build factories this quickly in the United States and other countries around the world, and I'm happy that it's reached its 1 year mark. And I'm also super duper excited for the future where Giga Texas is probably going to end up producing Tesla semis at rapid scale as well. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.